Hello, Brother Nashi. How are you? Please post my story as anonymous. I am a South African woman and I have come here because I want to tell you why I left a Zimbabwean prophetic church because of the things that were happening to me. But I paid a full price for love, my body, my faith, how I was hypnotized for many years. As someone that is educated, I never believed that there is African magic. But if you have never come across it, you will think that these are all stories. I paid a price, which is very painful. Brother, how are you? I am a South African woman who is aged 42 years old. The number of kids that I have here, you will become surprised with me that all these kids were fathered by a Zimbabwean man who made me to give birth each and every year during the duration of our marriage. I am educated, working at a university as a lecturer. I am someone who used to believe that you need to understand logic in each and everything that happens. There is no such thing as African magic. If you look very well, there can be a plausible explanation. And I was into debunking your topologies that there is no such thing as a topology. Maybe it is you just hallucinating because you have a mental health issue. And I used to think that all sangomas, they are inspired because maybe they have these mental health issues which make them to think that they are hearing voices of ancestors, yet there is nothing right there. I believed in science. I believed that we are on this planet just by mistake. The Big Bang Theory, all that scientific thing that us as human beings, we are just like animals. You are born, you live, you give birth, and then you die, and the energy returns back to the universe. I was not someone who easily believed in things that I could not explain, but life humbled me in ways that I do not even know. When my problems began, they did not start by me getting married to a Zimbabwean white garment prophet. No, my story did not begin in a church. It started in a hospital. One day, I noticed that my legs were swelling. I still remember that I was on my way driving to work. That was when I started to have an itchiness underneath my feet, on my right leg. Even by the road, I would try by all means to scratch myself. And when I got to my office at work, that was when I investigated and I saw that there were some blisters underneath my feet, and my legs, they started to swell, but not on that very same day. It was small at first, and I thought that maybe I was stressed because I was going through a very stressful period in my life with what was happening between me and my husband. I found out that he had so many girlfriends and I would rarely sleep at home. So I thought that this was the reason as to why I was having all of these problems in my life. I said it is stress, it is fatigue, but it did not go away. Instead, what happened was that it got worse and worse. My legs, they were so heavy as if I was trying to pull a ton of bricks that had been tied to my legs. Walking became painful. My back became so painful. I don't even have any proper way to explain the pain that I was feeling. My shoes, they could not fit anymore. I went to doctors, many doctors. It even reached a point whereby when I would be teaching my class, I had to sit down. I had one of my bright students who will be writing everything for the students on the board. That is how painful my legs and my back was. At first, I would go to the doctors doing your normal consultations, your blood test, your scans, medication. Nothing was working. Then I started to go to specialists, private doctors, expensive consultations. Still, there was no solution. When things got worse, my family insisted that I try outside of South Africa. I went to different countries. I even went as far as Singapore. That's how serious it became. When I went to Singapore, it was the most painful time. Being on the aeroplane, I was with one of my cousin's sister. I knew because I had seen a message that had gone into my husband's phone by mistake. He had an appointment at a hotel with his other girlfriend, and the girlfriend was like, I'm excited that she is going to Singapore. At least we can have some time together. I've decided to give it to you raw. I am tired of sleeping with you using condoms. That is the message that I saw on his phone. It was painful and I was sick, and my husband was excited that I was going to Singapore to get treatment, and he had lied to me that he had other business meetings that he needed to take care of, so he could not accompany me to Singapore. When I went wherever I went to, I was ready to do anything to get my health back. But everywhere I went to, the answer was the same. We do not know what this is, or worse, there is no cure. The moment that changed me, when I returned back to South Africa, I remember that I had gone to Cape Town to visit a specialist. There was this other doctor who was also working in that same facility. She was some speaking person like me, and she said something that I will never forget. She understood my condition and she said, you know what, ma'am, this is not something that Western medicine can solve. When she said this, I knew what she meant. I was supposed to communicate with my ancestors so that they can cure me, because she had said that science had no answer. This was the first time in my life that another well educated person was telling me to think about African magic, African witchcraft. Maybe there was someone that had bewitched me. I then turned to alternative help. That's when I started looking elsewhere. At first, I resisted. I told myself that I am educated. I don't believe in these things, but pain changes your thinking. I started exploring African remedies, herbs, consultations, traditional advice, not because I fully believed, but because I had no choice. Some things gave me temporary relief, not fully healing, but enough to give me hope. That hope was the one that made me to seek for strong, powerful healers from your country. This is how I heard about the church. Someone introduced me to a Zimbabwean white garment church. She told me that there is a prophet in the location where her grandmother stays, who helps people with difficult conditions in Pretoria. We were in Joburg, so we drove to Pretoria, but I did not go immediately. I hesitated. I saw those people worshiping under the tree, and I said that these people, they are not educated. They don't know that they're just wasting their time. Eventually, I went because of the pain. My first visit, the church was not what I expected. It was something that was so idiotic, to tell you the truth. One standing in front of everyone, and we had to sit in the burning sun, and it was not something that I wanted to do, but because of the pain, I had to do it. So I was helped by the prophet, and there were a lot of people that come from Zim who were them that were praying at that church in Pretoria. And then the prophet, he said that I was supposed to come to the place where he was staying in Pretoria as well, to his house. So I went to his house, and he told me things about my conditions that I could not even explain. That there was one at my workplace who was a cleaner. Can you imagine? A cleaner at the university where I am working bewitched me. I don't know why she bewitched me, but she just felt jealous about me. I was not taking her job. There was no way that she could qualify to steal my job. She did not have a brother that I knew of that she wanted me to get married to, but she just bewitched me. This is what the prophet, the bishop, told me. When she cleaned my office, she would use mortuary water. So whenever I would be stepping on the tiling in my office, I would be stepping on top of that mortuary water. That is the reason as to why even the Western doctors, they could not find anything that was wrong with me. When he told me the name of this woman, I was surprised because I did not even tell him that there is a woman at the university. Her name is Lindy, and she was the one that used to clean my office, and I liked her quite a lot. This prophet did not know about that. So it made me to believe. The healing, I would go to his house 3 times a week, and he cured me. I followed instructions, attending prayers, participating in activities, and then they made me to buy the white garment. They went with me to this other Indian shop where I bought the fabric, and then I went to a Zimbabwean tailor, and then they made the uniform for me. Yes, a South African going to a white garment church from for people from Zim. My condition improved not instantly, but gradually. My legs they started reducing. The pain became manageable, and I was okay. That improvement gave me a decision to stay. It changed everything. I started trusting the prophet. I started believing that maybe this place was the solution. I then decided to stay in that church, and I extended my stay in that church. Eventually, I stopped thinking about leaving. After some time, something unexpected happened. It was a proposal. The bishop approached me, not as his patient, but he approached me and he told me that he wanted me to become his wife. At first, I did not understand, but he made it clear that he wanted me to marry him. I was confused because I later found out something important. He had wives, not one, not two, many wives, mostly from Pretoria, Zimbabwean and South African women from different backgrounds. If I was going to agree, I was going to become his fifth wife. Brother Nashim, I was not an uneducated woman. I understand what polygamy meant. I understand the implications, but at the same time, I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was because of the water that he gave to me so that I can bath with it when I go to bed. I felt as if I was indebted to him. He had helped me, he had healed me. I felt as if I owed him something. Besides, I had already gotten divorced to my husband. I was going through another heartbreak with a boyfriend. So I did, and I said yes. Looking back now, I understand that it was not love, but it was some rituals that this man was doing to the women that he was lusting after. And I was afraid that if I leave him, I can get sick again. So I agreed. After I became his wife, my life changed completely. I was still a lecturer at the university, but I became this like useless woman in his life. I was just another woman that he had gotten married to. And the rules that I had to live by, it was so different. No family planning, no clinic visits, no external medical help. When you are pregnant, you give birth at home. Total obedience. It's like a cult. I followed everything because I believed that this continued my healing process. And eventually, I did not resign as such. I just went on an unpaid leave and I stopped going to work. We lived in Zim. By then, I had moved from South Africa. I had gone to Zim. I can speak Shona, by the way, my brother. I know everything. You cannot gossip about me when I am around, for I can respond. We can speak Shona from morning until midnight. So I had my hair cut and I was just like a normal woman in that church. Those qualifications that I had, they did not matter anymore. We went to his country. I met his family. They paid lobola for me. They paid, and it was a lot of money because this bishop is rich, by the way. He has a very huge piece of land in Zim. I do not know if you know this place, Brother Nashi. It is called Marange, it is in Zim. So that is the place where I was taken to when I was pregnant. It is far from the life that I used to know because I was already staying in Senton, but it was not a big apartment. Moved from Senton and I went into a remote area surrounded by mountains. No city, no comfort, no electricity, nothing, no running water. It was just the church. All that we did was go to church. And in 8 years, brother, I gave birth to 6 children. One might not understand how is it even possible that a woman can give birth to 6 children in 8 years. So because you do not take family planning in that church, I was giving birth each and every year, back to back, no spacing, no planning. My kids, they look like they are twins because it's one child after the other. At that time, I still believed that I was doing the right thing. I believed that I had found my place of harmony. I believed that it was okay to be where I was, but I had entered into a world that I did not even know. When I look back now, I can clearly see that my life had changed before I had admitted it that I was inside of a cult. Life in that village in Marange, it was structured. Everything revolved around the church. Morning prayers, midday duties, evening gatherings, night sessions. There was always something happening. There was no space to sit alone and think deeply. In that, I now realized that I was in a cult. As we were the wives, we were expected to support our husband, the bishop, welcome new members, guide women in the church, maintain discipline. So we stayed on a big farm. It was like we were in our own little country. Our husband was rich. I never worked very hard. I had two maids that were working for me. I had my own house. Then my other sister wives, they had their own house, their own houses. We were doing chicken projects and I was not doing any hard work because I had people working for me and we all had cars. Every wife had her own Toyota Hilux, a double cab that she was using. When we would go out to shop in the nearby towns, we would use a taxi which he had bought. It was not being used to carry other people. It was just for the wives. He would drive us. We would go to shop. We would even go as far as Europe just to enjoy on a vacation. There are even pictures that we took when we went to Dubai, us and our husband. By then, we were 7, with our husband being the 8th. So he had money, just that the church, it suppresses women quite a lot. So the church, in order for it to make money, people need to come to that church to give money to the church. Some of them, they are poor villagers. They don't bring money. They bring maize grain. They bring cows. They bring goats. So then my husband, his secretaries, they take everything to the market. That is how my husband's father, who started this church, became super rich, is very rich, maybe one amongst the richest men to ever lived in Zim. So at first everything looked normal. Then I said, I can't be like this anymore because what I started to witness was that we were like living as queen. When you are a queen, you do not know that in the villages there are people that are suffering. When we started to go into the villages, then I started to see that the children in the communities around that came to our church, they were always suffering, they were sick. And this way, your normal sicknesses that children, even here in South Africa, they just go to the hospital, an injection, then your child is okay. But in that village, in that church, the rule is that you don't go to the clinic with your kids. Even my own kids, they were not vaccinated because they were not allowed to, and I had accepted it because I was part of that church. So when I started to see that these kids, they are dying because of improper medication, then I decided to leave that church. It was so hard for me to leave this church. And besides, there were other rituals that we used to do. We would go to the river with our husband. We would call upon the spirits. They call them Juzum in Zim. These are mermaid spirits. We would speak with them so that they can bless the church and our husband can make a lot of money. So these rituals, they were not Christian like. And then that was when I returned back to South Africa with my kids. When I returned to South Africa with my kids, I just went to Eastern Cape and I blocked my husband. He looked for me for a very long time. When I came back online, then I told him that we can't continue and there was no need like for a divorce because we never got married legally. I was just his wife. They paid lobola. I told my relatives, and my relatives, they were happy. They were mad at me when I told them that I'm going to stay in Zim. They were like, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yes." Returned back to work, went through disciplinary action, but I am grateful that God managed to make me to return back to work where I am currently working. So this is what happened in order for me to get out of that prophetic church. And I have no wish for someone to be involved in that kind of a marriage, even though your husband has money. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our dear sister. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. If you have your confession, do not hesitate to come to my inbox and share with us your own side of the story.